Strap in and get ready. This is the Wild Will Throwdown. We're your all-access pass to the world of short track racing, covering everything from regional results to national highlights. Each episode, we dive into upcoming schedules and bring you exclusive interviews with special guests from the heart of the motorsports industry. Now, here is your host, Wild Will Greenwell.
Welcome, everyone, to the Wild Will Throwdown podcast, Season 5, promoting Soldiers, of course, in 2026, again with India Warrior Partnership. My name, Will Greenwell, of course, the host of the show, and the co-host of the show joining us now, Mr. Hawk Harold Adams and Young Money Dalton Connor. Harold Adams, another week gone by, another weekend of racing we've gotten in. It's pretty incredible that Mother Nature is working with us now.
Yeah, things have kind of worked out a little bit. We're kind of getting into a little bit of that summer mode, and starting to get a little dry weather. And the weather was great this past weekend, by the way. And we had a lot of fun with it, so let's just keep it rolling, right?
And we're going to recap that here in a moment. But Dalton Connor, you back in the race car, hopefully your neck is doing better.
Yeah, it was fine a couple days after that figure eight hit. So it's just been healing up, and I'm ready to get into modified at Salem.
Hey, yeah, we're going to talk a lot about that coming up next. But so now, Dalton, were you racing anything this past weekend?
No, I was not, and I was supposed to go to Bloomington with Jack Dawsey III, but I think he had some sort of mechanical something, so he just didn't want to go. He got it figured out now. But so I went to Mount Lawn actually Saturday night for their, crazy to say, opening night of the year.
There you go. And you weren't in action there. Why didn't you take the modified?
Well, we were still putting the motor in it, getting it ready for Salem. So we just didn't want to rush with the house and all that stuff going on. So we went out there for my girlfriend's dad, Jason Thompson, to make his modified debut.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw Brian Glaze's comment or a post on Facebook there. So awesome job, Jason. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Was the invert a 17?
The invert was a 17.
I thought I heard that right.
Yep, and I think it was a 22 or 23 in the Crown Vic.
Good God.
Wow.
Yeah. Where did they come up with that?
I honestly don't know. That's what everybody was walking around the pitch trying to figure out. But I think they literally just draw through the field, one through however many cars. That's
what I thought. Whatever. Each to their own. But, man, I would definitely qualify last in that aspect. But any hoot. Harold Adams, you and I, let's recap where we were this past weekend. It was a full house of almost 3,000 people at the Salem Speedway, packed in for a Rooster school bus figure eight night. And, man, that school bus race did not disappoint.
No, it didn't. I mean, it's always a festive time, getting a big crowd out there and beautiful weather, so you knew it was going to be big. So a lot of stuff going on. Of course, I was staying active, throwing a lot of shirts out and candy and everything and taking pictures of the crowd. And so, it's a good time to good to see people out there. You hope to see some of those people come back, and see some other events, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great time. Ford Future Stars, a great show. Carter Shelton picked up the win. Ford Powder Puff, Tiffany Shelton picked up the win. The Ford Figure 850, which saw a huge intersection collision with Robert Lord making contact with Brad Hibbert's number 85. They are getting those cars fixed in the shop right now. And then we had a great Smack Talkers event. That was good. Actually, a couple Smack Talkers events. The 77, I believe Ovi won that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I correct on that or no?
Yeah, Michael Ovi in the 76.
And there was a special reverse kind of deal, and there was car bowling, but I don't know what happened at that point. I was back meeting and greeting some of our fans, signing some autographed shirts and whatnot as we sold the shirts this past week, which I want to thank all of the fans for purchasing those. Proceeds going to the military. So then, of course, let's talk about the topic of the week. Now, I got the topic of the week this week. I was kind of up in the air on what I was going to do here. There were a couple things, I like to get the topic of the week that if I hear news in the storylines during the week, it kind of builds me up to this or over the weekend. But, gentlemen, this is something that I want to talk about. And Kentucky Anna Kart Racing posted a post on Facebook that said the Something Karting Association no longer allows radios in your car, so we're not going to allow that now. So my point in this being, what I'm getting ready to say, is how more and more we are seeing some jurisdictions, if you would. I mean, used to be a series would come to your track, a touring series would come to your track. Say the ASA Stars comes in, or the Lucas Oil Series Dirt Tracks comes in, and all of that fun stuff. But now we are seeing kind of like the Legend Series. We are seeing INEX, who kind of dictates the rules a little bit there. And now we're seeing the National Karting Association, who is dictating some of the rules there with other tracks. So now my question is, what do you think about these national series now, I guess, ordinances? I don't know what you would call them, jurisdictions, on actually telling the tracks what rules you're going to have on certain divisions. I think it's very interesting, and it keeps it across the board. Well, now the drivers can't really bitch at the owner and the promoter of the track because it is national standards now. So, Dalton, I'll give it to you first, but what do you think about this? We're seeing more and more each day.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear that stuff is like the INEX sanctioned legends at the Speedrome, for example, this past year. So we talked about it, the Speedrome cautions we talked about last week, all that lazy caution stuff, Speedrome yellows. I mean, we talked about last week. Now, since the legend cars are INEX sanctioned at the Speedrome, under INEX rules, there is no racing under yellow. So if there's a yellow, you stop racing, restart, whatever. So that would be the only class at Speedrome to do that, to not race under yellow. And they've been following that the past week's opening night. And then I believe 3 weeks ago, maybe, they didn't tell the drivers at all, because the drivers were bitching about it. I saw it all on Facebook. Everybody was bitching and crying that they didn't say anything in the drivers' meeting, but they changed the rule for the legends to where the Speedrome did, to where you race under yellow now. So there's a yellow flown in this race, and everybody started slowing down. Well, they just flipped the lights back green after it turned yellow, so everybody just started racing again.
Oh, no.
So everybody was bitching about it. So now I don't know what the deciding factor was after that race, if they're going back to just having Speedrome yellows, or if they're going with the INEX sanction rules and doing it to where you don't race under yellow. So I'm not sure, but that's just something to brainstorm on too, that I've heard.
Well, that's very interesting, because we've seen incidents like that before, especially with the yellow flag rule. But just kind of over the board, Harold Adams, what do you think about this? You saw the post today released by KKR, and talking about all of that stuff and how other series are jurisdictioning some of the laws and bylaws of some of this, some of these series. Now, you know what I think? I think it's great, because you're actually making a one rule book across the board at all of these tracks now.
Yeah, that's interesting right there. That's a good point. That's a good thing about it, the pro about it. But for some reason, maybe I'm old school, but for some reason, I don't really care for it too much. It seems like the track, if you're racing at that track, unless it is part of an actual series where you're getting points for that series that's traveling, blah, 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 or whatever. And it's kind of a gray area with the INEX, because, you get INEX points, well, whatever. So that's kind of a different deal there. That's kind of a gray area. But overall, I don't know. I feel like the track should be able to do what they want to do for their race. You know what I mean?
Well,
if it's you know what I mean?
Kind of. But I do like this, because a lot of tracks are trying to set their rule books to keep that certain class at their track. This kind of takes that away a little bit, in my opinion. Because now, all right, here's an example. I'm going to throw out some random tracks. Anderson, Speedrome, Mount Lawn, Sportstrome. If these kind of cars race at those tracks now, you get to go and really race at all of these tracks and have one set of rules, because you're under that umbrella of certain rules. Now, on the other hand, I get why tracks are trying to keep cars there and only doing a certain amount of rules for their own little gimmick. But I do agree with, yes, the track should be as far as officiating, which typically is, and they have a race director, but you just have to enforce those rules. Dalton, does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And I think I agree with you more on this, Will. Is I like getting back to where you can travel around and be under one rule book, like we talk about with dirt, modifieds, late models, whatever. That's why dirt is thriving. They have the one, sure, rules may change here and there from this side of the country to the next, but all in all, it's pretty much the same rule book, and it just makes it easier for competitors, any fans, anybody that loves watching that series, that form of racing, whatever. It just evens it out across the board wherever you're at. So I think I agree with you on it, Will.
Yeah, and nothing against Harold. Harold, like you said, he's old school, and that's different of what we're seeing. But Harold, we're seeing this more and more these days. That, and I don't even know how it evolves. I really don't. I mean, let's have a jurisdiction on this one series, and let's just now try to make it across the board. But the other question is, Harold Adams, I'll ask you this. I don't know what your opinion is on this, or I guess I'm asking it because I don't know. But what would this benefit the track, right? More cars, more pit pass money. I guess the business side of it would benefit the track, correct?
Yeah, I would think so. The only thing is getting to that point, because like maybe you've got more cars in your area that doesn't fit, what the series is trying to do, or that alliance. So
then you have to modify.
Might be leaving some guy. Yeah. So you're going to have to almost be like a grace period there, maybe you could say.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that either. See, that's another kind of pull from this. But, the legend cars, I mean, we're going to pick on the legend cars because it's under that iNext umbrella. But across the board, they are all equal. You can go to a part manufacturer and pretty much buy the same parts. You have the same engine compound. We got two engines, the MT and the F or whatnot. But I know, Dalton, you've run the Legend Series a lot. They're pretty much equal across the board, correct?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I'll say parts-wise, if you were to get into a Legend car, go straight to iNext, US Legends, whatever, and order a car, you're going to get the same parts as you would if you went to 860 Motorsports or 77 Speed Shop, or all these good top-notch Legend teams like Miller's. But it's the speed in Legend cars that differentiates the people is what shop builds them, who puts them together. Sure, it's the same parts, but those parts like a certain way to go together, like a certain setup, angles, all this different stuff. So that's the speed difference that you see across the board in Legend cars, and obviously the drivers behind the wheel. But yeah, for the most part, if you're going to order a Legend car, you're going to get the same exact kit, same exact parts as the next Joe Blow that's going to order from them.
No, that's a good point. And, just thinking about, it's kind of like a touring series, like the ASA goes to, say, Anderson for the Redbud. And then they have their race director, their tech crew, all of that stuff that does all of their stuff. Well, this is now kind of like, hey, we're actually the series, but we are also going to use your staff to enforce the rules, being the race director. We're going to rely on your tech. You know the rule book, and here's our race procedure. You just have to do it. It's like getting a pamphlet in high school or middle school from the directions. You got to read the instructions first, right? So that it's just very fascinating to me, I guess. And we're seeing it more and more, like literally, like, now karting. We're on a set of national recommendations on blah, blah, blah. Well, now you can't use radio. So two-way radio communication, which I agree with. It should not be two-way communication. It should be, of course, a receiver is one-way communication to the driver. The person can't be able to talk back, and stuff like that. But bottom line is, this is more and more what we're seeing. So I just thought it would be a great topic of the week, talking about everything coming on and just seeing some of those posts. I saw the KKR post, and then my head went to iNext. And then iNext to other series and rules and stuff that we're seeing now in 2026 more and more. But man, what a great way to take our first commercial break today. We'll take a little bit of a break here. Thank our marketing partners and everyone who makes this possible for us to be here in 2026, celebrating 5 years of the Wild Will Throwdown. Race fans, in 2026, we celebrate 5 years of the podcast, The Wild Will Throwdown. And in 2026, we cannot thank are great marketing partners for what they do for us, including the Salem Speedway, the Sportstrom Speedway, KKR, Indianapolis Speedrome, Elite Outdoor Services, Shears Drain Cleaning, Kentucky Clutch and Performance, Forklift Rescue, Diesel Boys, Park Fans, Hoosier Auto Racing Fans, Flag to Flag Media, Roosters, Marshall Jaggers Racing, Derby City Recycling, Polk Brothers Racing, John McLaren Motorsports, Shane Wilson Lawn Care, Sean Smith Race Cars, Circle City Raceway, Victory Lane Frenchies, Oink Incorporated, Hadley Towing and Recovery, Code 3 Roofing, KJ Enterprises, The Smile Center, Clap Mowing and Landscaping, LaFever's Curbing, El Tarasco Mexican Restaurant, and S&R Towing. We cannot thank our beautiful marketing partners enough for their success and their support in 2026. And welcome back to the Wild Will Throwdown season number 5, partnering with Indy Warrior Partnership in 2026. Now, good friend of mine on the hotline. I've gotten to know this gentleman for many, many years. Of course, him and when he worked with Dave Duncan at the Mount Lawn Speedway. Mr. Jimmy Wyman. Jimmy, thanks for taking the time to chat with us this week, buddy.
Hey, I'll talk racing any day of the week, Will, so thanks for calling me.
Hey, absolutely, buddy. You know, we've talked before we went on air here, and you and I both love racing. That's what it comes down to. And talking about this big event coming out of Salem Speedway this Saturday night, June the 6th, during Kids Night. It's going to be a great packed crowd. I think we're going to have a great crowd. The first, I believe, 300 kids get a prize pack from McDonald's when they come through the gate. They're going to have the cars there for the kiddos to ride in and whatnot. So it's going to be a great, fun-filled night. First of all, what is it like coming to an atmosphere like Salem? The new owners took over. We're expecting a big car count. It's going to be a great night.
I'm beyond excited about coming down there. I've, raced down there. I've been a fan down there. I've worked down there. So helping bring the modifieds back, it just makes me so happy. Like I said, looking for a good car count. I got a lot of, good names on the list coming down there. And like you said, it's going to be a heck of a night for the modifieds.
Yes, it is. And, looking at some of the names on the entry list, I mean, it's pretty incredible when you go through there. Josh Sage, Dalton Connor, Chuck Barnes Jr., the list goes on and on. And talking about bringing the modifieds back, some of the modified guys, in this region, they love Salem Speedway and they love Winchester. It's the high bank thrill of it all. Some guys, well, they kind of don't like it, which is fair because, they're used to Mount Lawn and Anderson and stuff like that. But, first and foremost, before we get into the racing part, talk about how you and Glenn Luckett came up with working together to try to promote this show and with all of this bonus money coming up.
Me and Glenn have known each other for years. I worked with Glenn way back in the CRA days when they first got started. So Glenn's kind of an idol of mine, believe it or not. I mean, I like the way Glenn runs a program. Over the wintertime, last year I worked with the Midwest Modified Tour. Unfortunately, they went, the series didn't fall apart, but the series didn't re-up for 2026. So Glenn called me and said, hey, what do you think about modifieds at Salem? And I told him, I said, well, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of draw down your way, so these guys have to travel. And I said, but, a lot of guys, I reach out over the winter, text a lot of the racers, and a lot of them said, heck yes, if we can run Salem, we're in. So I said, okay. So I called Glenn and said, look, I think I can get some cars down there. Can't guarantee you a whole bunch, but, we'll see. So he come up with the ideal, we'll do it on this payout. Well, the new owner, I've yet to meet him, but he said, that's not enough money. We'll throw some more money at it. So then, I reached out to all the racers and the comeback was just phenomenal. They was all like, heck yes, we are in. So, like I said, right now there's 20 cars on the entry list and I have reached out to all 20 of them. There's one that might be in question. I ain't going to lie to you, but the rest of them's all ready to go.
Sure.
And there may be a few more that show up.
Now, we're looking at the payout bump, right? So if you get like 16 cars or more, am I reading that right? That's $2,000 to win, correct?
Yes. If there's 16 or more cars, it'll be $2,000 to win. And I'm trying to dig out my paperwork here. I don't have it. Daggone it.
You're good. I just threw that on you.
Yeah, no, it's here. It's $2,000 to win, $1,500 per second, $1,000 for third, and $400 to start.
Wow.
If you come from over 100 miles from the racetrack, Brent is putting up $150 bonus money.
Oh,
so
great.
basically it's $550 just to start the 50 lap feature at Salem Speedway. And That's incredible. That's beyond nice. I can't wait to meet Brent and his wife. They're good for racing. They're trying to get modifieds down there. As I discussed earlier, Anderson is off this Saturday night for modifieds. Mount Lawn, unfortunately, is racing this Saturday night. So, and I've told a lot of the guys, they told me, man, I'm sorry, I want to come down there, but I got to go to Mount Lawn, which I respect that. And
yes.
I told them, as long as you're racing, I don't care where you race at.
That's it.
I mean, we got draw from Ohio. A lot of Indianapolis cars, not a lot, but there's some Indianapolis cars. Rich Segovich is coming down from like Lafayette. Terry Fisher's coming down from Fort Wayne.
Oh yes, yeah, Terry.
So it's going to be I think it's going to be a great show. I've talked to Glenn probably too much because when Glenn answers the phone now, it's like, hi, Jimmy, so he knows I'm going to talk modifieds. So again, looking forward to it very much.
Well, talking about the roster of modifieds, I mean, you go through there and look like you talked about Terry Fisher, but one guy on that entry list that knows Salem more than anyone is Chuck Barnes Jr. How about him returning? That's going to be good.
That's great. Chuck, I've known Chuck for a long time, and that modified he was down there with us with the Midwest Modified Tour.
Yep.
Very, very fast. Austin Baum, another one down there.
Yeah.
And your other guy.
Well, you got Blaine Aiken, too, who's run street
Blaine
stocks.
Aiken, yeah. Yep. Blaine has many laps there. He's in a Jamie Sides car, I heard, which Jamie's out of Ohio. And them cars are fast. So, lap experience, track experience, Blaine's going to be hard to beat also.
Yeah, no doubt. And now, something very special. I know you won't brag on yourself, but I'll brag for you. You and your lovely wife are going to pay the top 15 guys who get there early, who get there first, their pit fee. That's pretty cool. And how did you come up with that?
Where that started at is Dave Duncan. Back when me and him were in Mount Lawn, he was becoming adamant about the entertainers should not pay their way in. He said, why do baseball, basketball, football players, they don't pay when they go to their own football game, so why are we charging the drivers? And right before Dave got sick, his plan was to let all the drivers in Mount Lawn free because he said, I'm not charging them guys. They're the ones putting on the show. So I've always remembered that. And when this modified deal come about, I told the wife, I said, in memory of Dave, I'm going to, do what he wanted to get started. And I would like for it to carry on to some point, but I know it costs money. It's going to cost us money. But, in memory of Dave, it don't bother me at all to, do this because, the racers, I'd love to pay everybody's way in. But, at a certain point, my wife's like, hey, she cut me off at some point. Because
that's good for you.
Honest with you, I was trying to draw 15 cars down there. Right now we're at 20. And you never know what I might do. I got what I call a little bit of Jimmy money hit back. So,
there you go.
You never know what I'll do. Because I appreciate these guys. These guys are taking their time to come down there. When there's other tracks, we got Cole Timmerman, Patrick Woods, Josh Sage out of Ohio.
Yeah,
these guys are so they're going to drive right by Shady Bowl Speedway. That's another place that they're racing modifieds. Unfortunately, the date didn't work out too well, but it's hard to find the perfect date when everybody's off. But they're going to drive by that racetrack, drive by Mount Lawn Speedway to come to Salem. So the least I could do is make it worth show my appreciation by paying their way in.
What's really awesome, though, is 100% these guys who are traveling afar have heard, hey, Salem Speedway running this track is like a thrill ride. You got 33-degree banking. It's not a half mile. It's over a half mile, just a tad. And the speeds you get off the corners, Jimmy, I know some are scared of it, but some just come for the thrill ride.
Oh, absolutely. You got some, speed junkies out there, Dalton, Chucky, all them guys, they love it. So, a lot of guys, when they found out, not to brag, but when I was involved with it, they're like, hey, we'll come support you because we feel like we'll get treated fair.
Exactly.
So,
and I know you, man, and I've worked with you. So that is a true statement.
Well, it's just, I'm not the bragging type, but I'm just, in Salem, the high speeds, something different, these guys, I got a couple of guys that text me quite often. I can't wait. So, it's kind of got me excited and all I'm doing is helping tech. Glenn will be calling the show and, you'll be calling the announcing side of it. And I appreciate that greatly. But, I'm a very small part of this, Salem Speedway is the one doing it. I'm just helping try to draw some cars down there and make this thing successful, hopefully. Because there is another race August 15th with the 500 Sprint Car Tour. And, I need to look, but I don't know if Mount Lawn and Anderson's off that night or not. We may draw more cars. And then, I don't know what the payout's going to be for the next race. But, a lot of guys are watching right now to see how it goes. And if it, hopefully it's a good success, they're going to want to be part of it.
Yeah, and that's a television race too, the 500 Sprint Car Tour. So that'll be good for those guys.
That's great to know that. Okay. So, and then there's another one, I believe, November 8th. So that will be a big night too.
That'll be the end all. Yep.
3 chances to run down at Salem Speedway.
And you know what? The more cars we get, the better turnout, the more they will get to run in 2027.
Absolutely. I feel like I said, just watching this Brent's videos and stuff, you can tell he's very passionate about racing and definitely Salem Speedway and a couple other racetracks I'm hearing. So that's great. I mean, if he loves modifieds, I'm going to do my part to get him some good modifieds there so he's happy when the night's over. There's nothing worse than promoting, crowd-wise and, coming down there and only 8 or 9 or 10 cars show up.
Well, what's really wild is, Jimmy, I've never worked with a promoter in my life that the beginning of the season, I knew we were already adding stuff for dates in 2027. So,
holy cow.
Yeah, he loves it. He lives it. He breathes it. He's all in 100%.
And that's great for the racers, So I just hope, the modifieds, we can hold our end of the deal up. When the night's over, he's happy, wants them back. And with the group of cars I got coming, I believe you're going to see one heck of a show down there.
Oh, I agree. And Jimmy, real quick, tell our listeners why you are so passionate about modified racing. I know you say you love it all, and I know you love it all. But talk about your love for modifieds real quick, because I worked with you at Mount Lawn Speedway, and what you and Dave Duncan had done for the modified program in this region is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Back when modifieds first come to this area, back in probably the late 80s, my cousin actually had one of the first modifieds around this neck of the woods.
Oh, excellent.
And I've always followed the modifieds, but then there for a while, modifieds died out around here. There wasn't, hardly, you didn't hear of anybody that had modified, the Don Scotts, the Harold Scott, Don Skaggs, Harold Scotts.
Yep.
They was the only ones that really had modifieds. Well, then when Dave come to me wanting modifieds, again, I had the passion for them. I always loved them. Just something about them, the big motors, the open wheel, not a sprint car, but an open wheel concept. So, when we started, there was probably 12 guys, maybe not even that many, 10 guys around this area that had modifieds. Well, then now today, as of right now in my phone, there are 63 modifieds that I have contacts for just within a general area of Mount Lawn, Winchester, Anderson. That's not even including Ohio. Because Shady Bowl is probably getting 30-plus modifieds over there. So I feel like Dave and myself, we brought modified racing back to life. The down south guys brought Crown Vics, and guys need to be proud of the Crown Vic program they've got started. So it's just something, once you build something, you're very, very proud of it. And I feel like, Dave, unfortunately, he's no longer with us.
Sure.
But, we was a contributor to saving and bringing modifieds back to life. Dalton Connor, I don't know if he ever planned on having a modified, but now he's got a modified. A lot of guys are just moving up. Chucky Barnes. Who would ever thought these guys had been in modifieds?
Never would have thought.
6-7 years ago. Because and the program that Dave and myself built down at Mount Lawn, with the the less expensive, we'll call it shock program, the tire program where you get one tire a week.
Yes,
it's brought, I won't say the lower budget teams, but guys that couldn't afford to go out and bolt on 4 new tires every Saturday night and, buy the, thousands of dollars worth of shock programs. I mean, a lot of guys have told us if it wasn't for your guys' vision of what modified racing needed to be around here, we still wouldn't be racing. Our cars would still be in the garage.
That's a good point.
There's guys, daily, looking for modifieds, or, you'll see one on Facebook. It ain't on there very long, and somebody's already went and bought it. a guy that I know very well. I won't mention his name because I don't know if his wife even knows it, but he went and bought a modified, for next year. It's just a bare chassis and, it's got the body and stuff on it, but he just wants to go modified racing. And, modified, I've been with the Midwest Modified Tour when they was running, and it's just a cool class of cars, and all the drivers have, been very respectful, and, that's what you want.
Well, my last question, of course, is the E word. What is your expectations for this Saturday night at Salem Speedway?
Well, that's a very good question. That's, honestly, we're on either or tire. So I'm anxious to see if the F70 or the American Racer, how they do down there. Expecting 20. Hopefully we have 20 modifieds down there. I'd love to have a few more that wasn't on the entry list. You never know how racers are. Some guys may just show up. I hope there's a good crowd down there. I hope it's comes down to 4 guys racing for the checkered when it comes out, which with the entry list, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. And the crowd up on their feet cheering, and Brent, when the night's over, to come up and want us back in 2027.
Well, it's the first race under the lights at Salem Speedway in 2026, so that's going to be pretty cool seeing those modifieds underneath the lights.
There's some beautiful looking race cars. I encourage fans to come out, check them out, come down the pits, check them out. All the racers under there are very respectful racers. They love for people to look at their cars. And, there may be some down there Friday testing. So if you want to come out and check that out, they'll be more than happy to talk to you.
All right, Jimmy. Well, thanks for joining us this week, buddy. And we can't wait to see you this Saturday at Salem Speedway, fueled by the Hoosier Lottery and powered by the John Jones Auto Group, buddy.
I've already got my motel rooms booked, and we'll be down there.
Hey, Wild Will Throwdown fans, Will Greenwell here. If you're into all types of racing like I am, then you need to check out the all-new Flag to Flag Media show each and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Just go to Flag to Flag Media, that's Flag, the number 2, Flag Media on Facebook and give them a like, or YouTube and subscribe. They will cover all of your dirt racing needs around the region. Flag to Flag Media. Check them out. And welcome back to the Wild Will Throwdown season number 5. And that was Jimmy Wyman getting ready and set for Salem Speedway this weekend. And upcoming schedules, we're going to go right into it this Saturday night, June the 6th, Kids Night at Salem Speedway. There's going to be everything from giveaways, T-shirts, to ride-along and race cars, and, of course, Dalton, to the return of the open wheel modifieds.
Yeah, I think with the street stocks, I saw the street stock entry list, and I'm excited to watch that race too. I wish I could talk my dad into bringing both of them, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I'll at least be there in the modified for you, Will.
Hey, there you go. That's all I asked. And I know Harold Adams, you'll be at Sports Dome. We'll talk about their schedule here in a second. But also on the card, the open wheel modifieds, around 20 on the entry list right now. Great American Stocks, the Crown Vic Short Track, Crown Vic Big Track, which I will go on and let a secret out. We're already at 24, a full field of the Big Track Crown Vics and Scrappers. So, Dalton, that's going to be a great show this Saturday night.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what race is going to be the best one, honestly. I know I'm going to be in it, but I'm excited to see how the racing is in the modifieds. I ran up there one time with the Midwest Modified Tour on the bump stops and stuff, but I had nothing but issues. So I'm going there with a clean slate now.
Hey, there you go. We're excited to see what you got. And Harold Adams, talk about Sports Dome. I know KKR Friday night. I'll be on hand for that one. But talk about Saturday night at Sports Dome Speedway coming back.
Yeah, after the big bus race last week and then being off before that, we're bringing some divisions that ain't been out there in a while. The TNT Screen Print Modified Figure 8, ICA Dumpster Sportsman. Both of those will be in action. And then the Ford Ovals will be back after a few weeks off, and the Ford Figure 8. So you got 4 solid divisions there running this week.
That's going to be a great show. Heat races return, I'm sure. So that's going to be fun this weekend as well. The Indianapolis Speedrome going to have a big double header. No racing on Sunday. We'll talk about that in a second. But Saturday, June the 6th, Autograph Night, number 1. That's a huge night. Outlaws 51-lap event, front-wheel drives, the 3rd annual Drake Wood Memorial for the Legend Cars, Mini Outlaw Oval, and Figure 8 going to take place on Saturday. On Sunday, of course, everyone in this area knows Ashley Albertson and what happened to her. Of course, worked with The TQ Midgets at Circle City a lot when I was director of operations there. Got to know Ashley and her family. So they're going to have that memorial truck and car and bike show this Sunday afternoon at the Indianapolis Speedrome. So make sure you take part in that. Up at Plymouth Motor Speedway, going to be a big day. It's going to be the double play payday. They call it double play payday or something like that. It's the Friday and Saturday, which is kind of rare for them. It's going to be the Street Stocks, Factory Fords, and Hornets. That's going to be what's at the Plymouth Motor Speedway. Now, our friends up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, of course, on Top Row Media, when I did that interview, I told them I was going to do Michigan tracks a lot more because they are our friends up north, and they're kind of close to here, about 5 hours up the road. Kalamazoo Speedway going to have a demolition derby this week and the bump and run game. Harold Adams, you and I have seen somewhere. You got to tell me what the track did the bump and run. Have you ever seen that, Harold?
No, but I know they do it a lot at Evergreen. I've seen. I don't think they had it when you was up there, but I see them. They have it a lot, and I don't understand it yet. But I'd like to see one, just see what it's about.
Well, it's Sandusky. That just clicked on me. Sandusky. I went up to Sandusky Speedway. Yep, and of course that track no longer there, but basically, all the cars are in the infield. One car's out there, and you go behind. If you're the lead car, you get to bump whoever you want to challenge, and you have a one-lap race or something, and you're eliminated. I think it's like that. Then you bump somebody else, and if they beat you, then blah, blah, blah. It's kind of a fun little deal. So that's what's going on in Kalamazoo. Anderson Speedway, pouring the dirt on the asphalt. Dalton, how about that for Monster Truck Throwdown?
Yeah, I like Ben Tunney's comment on their post. Hopefully it cleans off well in order for that Outlaw Figure 8 coming up.
Or you could just leave the dirt on it. That's an option.
Yeah, that's an option too. Imagine this: they put dirt all over the place and have a Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model show.
Oh, on those high bank short track, I'd go for sure. I would have to go for sure.
It'd be packed, standing room only.
No kidding. Hartford Motor Speedway in Hartford, Michigan, going to have the NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars. That's going to take place up there. And I always think of my buddy Tori when he says Sprint Cars. You know, Tori always had that little twist to it. Berlin Raceway, Schools Out Night. That's going to be the must-see racing sprint cars. There we go, sprint cars. Limited late models, 4 cylinders and mini wedges, going to take place there. Over at Russell's M40 Speedway. Now, if you don't know where Russell's M40 Speedway is in Michigan, it's right across the hop, skip, and jump past the border, right past South Bend Motor Speedway. They're going to have a theme night. Every week, I've read on their schedule and studied this. They have a racing theme night, Western night, and a band afterwards. How about that, Harold Adams?
Kind of reminds me of like minor league hockey or soccer or baseball. Where they always have theme nights that kind of help with the crowd. You know, it's a good idea, really.
It is good, and they're going to have that at Russell's M40 Speedway. Our friends down at the Highland Rim, the Veterans Motorplex at the Rim, the Highland Rim 75 Shootout for the Pure Stocks and Weekly Series. So that is it if you want some asphalt action. Of course, Harold, you told me the other day you love when I say this. If you're into the straight drag stuff, the straight line stuff, Ohio Valley Raceway has the drag racing down there for bracket racing, and then we'll head into dirt here. Now, Brownstown Speedway is closed this weekend, as a lot of dirt tracks have closed, because the Dream at Eldora is taking place this week, and I'm going to spend some time on Flow Racing that way this week. I believe it begins tomorrow. I'm going to watch some of that, so that's going to be pretty fun to see. Bloomington Speedway is going to have some big action going on as well. Bloomington Speedway is going to have the return of a winged sprint car tour. The 410 non-wings will be there in the Superstocks, but Huntley's Hoosier Winged Sprint Car Tour on Friday night at Bloomington, so I've never really seen that. Yeah, there you go, sprint cars. And it needs to be the theme this week, sprint cars. Seems like everyone's racing them. Saturday, that of course we talked about Brownstown being off. Circle City Raceway. They are having Friday night action, modifieds, street stocks, super stocks, Crown Vics, and Hornets. And here's a new one for you guys, and this is a huge track. I don't know if you know much about it, but it's down in Paducah, Kentucky. It's the Paducah International Raceway. Do either of you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
You don't hear much about it, but it's a really big track, isn't it?
It's a huge dirt track, absolutely huge.
Yeah.
And I know the Summer National Tours are going there. The Summer Nationals Hell Tour will be back there at Paducah this year as well for the super late models. I think that's a stop before or after Windy Hollow on June 28th. So they're going to have the Cruiser Street Stocks, Cruiser Late Model Sportsman, Scrappers, and Factory Stocks down there. And then Rockcastle Speedway following, of course, the invocation down there, National Anthem. They're going to have an honor of Randy Jones. He's, of course, everyone knows that many tracks do memorials. So they're going to do a salute to him, and they're going to have a mini wedge working man 50 plus weekly classes down there as well. So that's just in honor of him. Lake Cumberland Speedway. Now, we're going to talk about this a little bit because Lake Cumberland just dawned on me. So Harold and I have been talking. We may make it down to one of these series races next week, but this is pretty incredible. They're going to kick off the week on Tuesday night at the Thunder Mountain Raceway, and that's in Corbin, Kentucky. And so they're going to go to 5 different tracks. It's 5 different tracks. Tuesday night, they kick it off at Thunder Mountain in Corbin. Super late models, open wheel modifieds, Crown Vics, Pro Late models, hobby stocks, and front wheel drive Hornets. This is going to be every night that week. June 9th, then we go to June 10th, which is Wednesday. It'll be the Ponderosa Speedway. Same classes, same series. Then you go to the 11th, which is Thursday. You go to Rockcastle. Then you go to the 12th. I believe that is Richmond Raceway. And then it all ends on June the 13th at the Lake Cumberland Speedway. So that is super late models, open wheel modifieds, Crown Vics, hobby stocks, pro late models, and front wheel drive Hornets. So that's pretty cool as well. And Harold, you saw you and I talked about it. The points fund and the payouts are great for these divisions.
Yeah, it's like through the roof. I mean, if you got the time and you got the car, keep it together, you can make some bank.
Yeah, bank. I mean, take off. This is a great time if you're a racer to make a week vacation, isn't it?
There's no doubt about it. I mean, yeah, you got to plan on this. I'm sure a lot of them are, with that much money on the line.
Oh, yes.
If I was in a situation like that, I'd be ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, this was announced way back, so I hope we can make one of those shows. It's going to be a great time down there. Lincoln Park Speedway, the Midwest Throwback Sprint Cars and weekly classes are going to be on hand. Florence Speedway, our buddy J.R. Rouse. How about that, Harold Adams? Full Throttle Monster Trucks invade Saturday at Florence Speedway.
Yeah, good for JR. I haven't heard much from him lately. I'm glad he's still doing all that stuff with the big monster trucks.
Monster tough. That's right. Man, it seems to be a monster truck and sprint car kind of weekend. Paragon going to have Midget Week on the 10th. Now, the NOS Energy Midget Week, basically, they are starting that up again. That's, of course, sanctioned by USAC, and there's another sanction for you. But, gentlemen, man, it's been a great show today. Man, I want to thank Jimmy Wyman for taking the time and being on with us, talking about the big Salem show this Saturday night under the lights, and talking about Dalton going to be running there, Chuck Barnes Jr. on that entry list, some Ohio familiars. So that's going to be a great time at Salem Speedway. I want to thank, of course, the co-host, Harold Adams and Dalton Connor, for coming on each week, giving their insights. I want to thank the drivers and crews, and, of course, the great fans. And as we say every week, the fans is the reason we are here. But as far as I'm going and I'm concerned, my name is Will Greenwell, and we will see you around the turn.